We're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to The Streets Are Buzzin'. CT here with you to talk about the NBA draft, all things New York Knicks. But got a special guest with us tonight, James Barlowe, NBA Big Board. James, it's a pleasure to have you on and look forward to our conversation.
Hey, CT, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, it's been a crazy run into this draft. There's been some changes to the format, a lot of talk about the class, being weaker, but I mean, how excited are you generally for this time of year?
I mean, I love it. I know that the class is weaker, but it makes it more fun. Like in a sense, it's cool to marvel about Victor Wembanyama, but it kind of gets boring. You get bored with his success because every game he's doing something you've never seen, and it's like we know he's going number one, right? Where in this draft, we kind of have an idea who might go number one, but like everybody's big board that I look at 1 through 30 is different. And then the difference between, in my opinion, pick 15 and 45, it just varies. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of research. And it's going to be one of those drafts, I think, where nobody's wrong, just because you just don't have a clue who's going to pan out. Like there's just nothing surefire. So it's been very interesting. I wouldn't regret it. I don't necessarily think it's a weak draft. It's not a star driven draft, but there are some good players that you'll find. And it's just going to take front offices, fans, everybody involved. It's going to take more effort than your previous draft where we knew that Victor Wembanyama was going to be special. So
Yeah, you said it, man. Hidden gems. The more work you put in, the more chance you can reap that reward. And with the Knicks having three draft picks, we'll discuss what I think they're going to do, and I'll get your thoughts on what would be a good draft for the Knicks. But with this process, right, workouts, how big is that? And there's going to be a lot of volatility late, right up until the draft, right? No one's really going to know, but late workouts, how much movement do you expect there to be, generally with rises and people falling?
yeah, it's going to be crazy. I saw there's rumors supposed to be a 3-on-3 workout. I can't remember the last time I saw it. I forget where it was at, but it was like I know it was Ron Holland, Keyshawn George, Ryan Clark, Zach Eady. There was a couple other guys too, and I'm like, I can't remember the last time that I've seen that before. And I think that it's cool that they're doing it because that's just lets you know what kind of draft it is. Like, I had Ryan Clark in the second round, but he goes out there and he plays well. Like his stock can boost up, and it's also kind of one of those drafts. I know it happens every year, but somebody may like, man, look, I'm staying away from him because he's hungry and if I'm, projected to go here in the first round, I don't want that guy that might be in the second round who, I don't, I don't want those problems. So it's going to be a lot of movement. I think some of the projected movement that we do see online has a lot to do with like Intel getting out. So, but hey, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely, man. With workouts, it's all about players that are confident in their abilities and to destroy another guy. Knicks have had a lot of workouts reported. Ryan Dunn, I think, been one of the highest sort of profiles being
Hmm.
confirmed. I'd love to get your thoughts, but yeah, welcome into the chat as well. I'm starring any questions, and we'll get through some Q&A as the show goes through, fam. But welcome in, chat. Appreciate you guys. Joined by James Barlow, NBA Big Board, doing exceptional work on this draft leading in, and I checked those guys out. I'll put the link in the description as well. But James, all about the New York Knicks. What are your thoughts on the Knicks season so far? And I guess that'll lead into what the roster might need.
Man, look, I just you. I don't mean any disrespect to the Knicks fans, but it was hard to believe that it was real until it was real. You know what I'm saying? And it was like the first round. Who they have in the first round? They just beat
Philly.
Philly. That was tough, and it was like at some point, are they gonna turn it? Are they gonna be disappointing? And then like you had guys like step up. I mean, we knew Jalen Brunson was very good before, and he took it to another level. And then Dante DiVincenzo was unreal. Josh Hart was unreal. Like Hartenstein played out of his mind, and they were winning games even without OG. OG was good when he, was healthy. So it'd be interesting to see if they can repeat that success, especially with the guys who like. I'm not worried about Jalen Brunson. He's gonna be fine, right? But how do they bring back Julius into that mix? How does it work going forward? Are they gonna pay? I should probably ask you that question. Are they going to be able to pay Isaiah Hartenstein the money that he's made himself with his playoff performances? So um, I just know that in my mock, I have them taking a couple wings, and I think they will end up taking a big just in case that Hartenstein paycheck is too big. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it works. But I like Jalen Brunson, man. I think he represents everything that we love about basketball. Like it's not the eye test; he's just a basketball player, And it's not he doesn't have the longest arms. He's quick when he needs to be quick, and he's a tough dude. So very happy for the team, and just overall, like when the Knicks, they just bring a different energy to the NBA, and the energy is always good. I remember as a little kid watching John Starks games and hearing the Oregon player, and yeah, I love the energy that they bring.
Yeah, appreciate that, and more so the identity, James. The current group of players fit the identity of the general Knicks fan that grew up,
Mm-hmm.
in the era of the '90s, like you said, with Ewing and Starks and Oakley and guys that played that physical brand, and then we bring Tibbs in, and that's going to lead into some of the prospects we talk about. But you made a great point about Isaiah. I'm a fan of having the draft after free agency, so that
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much that's talked about in draft circles. Wouldn't that be amazing to know which player you can kind of focus on for need? But I
Yes.
think I think Isaiah will come back. I think the money is going to be close enough where he wants to be where he's at. Winning team. He formed a great bond with the current guys, and obviously success is appealing. Uh, I'd be curious to hear any other teams that you feel would make a good fit. But Oklahoma seems to be the only one with the
Yeah.
money and a decent situation.
Yeah. Just off the top of my head, I know Oklahoma City, and he kind of fits what they do because he can pass as well. But you know, I know it's a guy that's like bounced around the league a little bit, and when you finally get a home, it's like and even it just works out perfectly. Like at the game, you see Marbury, you see Starks, you see Larry Johnson, you see everybody who's ever been anybody who played for the Knicks. Like once you're a Knick, you're always a Knick. And we talked about it before we started. Like you want to, in your heart of hearts, you want to root for Porzingis, but he's in Boston. But like once you're a Knick, you're always a Knick. And it's like that money that you may get in free agency, like you can't buy that Knick fandom, that love that you get from the Knicks. So I would love to see him back. And like you said, I think he ultimately does come back because it just makes perfect sense. Like, you know, you're the king, So like even with Jalen Brunson, like he shouldn't have a mortgage payment in New York. Like they got him on a discount. He's you know, the second or third best Knick ever already. I mean, the money you can make more money somewhere, but all money isn't good money. So I think he should definitely go back.
Yeah, there's so many ways to make money. They got the podcast now, and he's
Yeah,
already won't ever have to pay for a meal in New
ever.
York City. Like you said, and you've seen him close in Dallas. For those that
Yeah.
don't know, James is in Dallas and close to that situation. But yeah, with Isaiah, the starting role, not a lot of teams can confirm, a starting role, and we'll talk about that now with some movement potentially. Mitch, hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Hmm.
Kel'el Ware, Zach Edey seem to be the best big men fits for the New York Knicks, but
Hmm.
I think probably a little bit out of their range. So let's start the conversation about this class now. You dropped your latest mock 2.0. Everyone
Yes.
check that out. We will talk about that now. And for the Knicks, man, 24, 25, and 38. Just as a team, forget about the current roster, but how would you feel if you were within a team that was coming into this draft with 24 25 and 38. How good would you be feeling?
I think that's a good spot because, like I said, the difference between a guy going 24 and a guy maybe going 42, it just may be a preference thing. So, like I had talked about in my mock, and we had talked about it, like Isaiah Crawford. I feel like he embodies everything that like the New York Knicks are about, and he even in my notes, like he is like an OG Anunoby clone, right? Like he's got the yoked up shoulders, long arms, uh, athletic, but not like super fluid. He looks exactly like OG Anunoby. And he played very, very well at La Tech. And um, I think the consensus is 30s, but I feel like he played well at the pit, the Portsmouth Invitational. He shoots the ball well. He's one of the best defenders in college basketball. His shooting splits were like great to the point where I think I had him at like some very similar shooting splits to another guy who's a 23-year-old who's some people mock in the first round, and that's Tristan Da Silva. But he's giving you that kind of shooting, but with athleticism and just great defense. So like I like him a lot there. I think he's somebody that Knicks fans would fall in love with because he's going to bring the grit and he can shoot the ball. Like I said, I think that's a perfect fit. And then just looking at like the Knicks roster, it'd be interesting to see. I know Boyan is 35 and he has one more year left on his deal. And before he got hurt, like they're still gonna need some scoring off the bench, obviously. And the other guy that I have mocked there at 25 is Nikola Djurisic, excuse me. His names sometimes are tough. And I think he's a 20-year-old. He played on the same team as another lottery pick, Nikola Topic. And he flirted with the draft last year, but this year he's ended. I know he played well at the combine. He was recently at an Adidas event a couple weeks ago, and he played very well. But he's a legit 6'8". He's a very good athlete. I think he can pass the ball too. And again, it's like you need guys who are. I feel like the Knicks, where they are right now, they need guys who can contribute right now, and not necessarily go for the long term. I mean, just looking at how Tibbs is, once he likes you, he loves you, right? But it took Deuce McBride a minute to crack the rotation. But once he did crack the rotation, he was good. And then like also just as far as like my mindset, if the Knicks what they need to be looking at aside from an insurance policy for Isaiah Hartenstein, but like Alec Burks is a free agent. That instant offense, like that was you needed that down the road as guys got hurt. Now, ultimately, do I think a rookie or even two rookies are going to play heavy playoff minutes? Probably not, because Tibbs is going to shorten his rotation. That's perfectly fine, but you're going to need somebody. You're going to need young guys to get you through those February nights, those December nights, those games when you got to play. You know, you got to play the Pistons. So, but my thinking is it should be at least two wings and probably an insurance policy for Hartenstein, just in case that price tag is too big, or just in case he just decides like, hey, this is my one opportunity to get paid, as we say in America, to get a bag. So maybe he does that.
Absolutely, man. You hit the nail, and I want to talk a bit about Isaiah Crawford, Zay Crawf, and for those that didn't hear, James confirmed that he's mocked latest mock is 24. The Knicks taking Isaiah Crawford out of Louisiana Tech, 6'6", in the mold of a Kawhi Leonard with huge hands, 7'1" wingspan as well. I think he shot 43% on threes as well. Exceptional 3-point shooter. How do you feel about his creation ability to get to his spots?
It's there. Ultimately, I think it was there because of, well, two reasons. He's an older college player, but also the conference that he was in. So can he create? Yes. But it's going to be at the next level. I think it's going to be more simplified just because of, I mean, look at the talent on that team. But in my mind and in my thinking, do you need him to dribble between his legs three times like how we see Kawhi do now? Absolutely not. But do we need him to make open shots when they chase you off the line? Can you make that one dribble pull up? Sure. Would it be great to see because OG has matured and turned into somebody who can get some shots in for himself. And will Isaiah Crawford become that? That to me is a lot on just what you're asked to do. And as a late first round pick, as an older rookie, you got to do what they ask you to do first, which is play great defense and make open shots. I want to say, and I don't have the notes in front of me anymore, but I think he was at like 40% shooting on catch and shoot jump shots in college, and like that translates. And it was at a high volume too.
Yeah, and part of me is asking, like, why do you feel you said consensus sort of 30 range? He didn't get
Mm-hmm.
an invite to the combine. Was there a reason that you know of? And some people, I think ESPN don't have him in the top, 60 as we speak. Like, is he just a guy that's just slipped under the cracks?
I feel like
Um,
he's just under the cracks. It's and like I said, it's a draft where the difference between 25 and 45, it's a matter of preference, right? But also we had talked about workouts. He's not somebody I would want to work out against if I have, a good draft projection at 21 because it's going to be hell trying to score on him. He doesn't have a name, so he's going to be extremely hungry. And it's like those things kind of play into account as far as, where somebody is mocked, who he's working out at. But, I think he's going to play well. Like I said, he passes the eye test, he passes the analytical test too. So if and at the same time, if he's not there at 24 or 25, he still may be there. You said 38, he may be there at 38 as well. Like there's just not very much variance between a late first and an early second or mid second round pick in this draft to me.
yeah, most def. And I hit him up to see if he's got any New York workouts lined up,
Yeah.
but didn't get any response. So we'll see. I know these guys want to keep things. I think he did post on a story that he was in Toronto, so won't be surprised if the
See now, look,
Raptors.
look. You see, so Masai, if he's working out in Toronto, Kawhi was a Raptor, OG was a Raptor. They drafted OG like he's from the loins of those two. Will he be as good? Probably not. But if you can get a guy that can make shots and defend at a high level and be a very good rotation piece, you'll take it.
Yeah, and James, the Knicks love experienced guys. Quentin Grimes, 3 years. Obi and Jericho Sims, 4-year college guys.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly and Grimes were Quickly and Deuce were 2-year guys. So Tibbs will play some guys if they do what he needs, but they've got to
Mm-hmm.
be a little bit seasoned. And
Yeah.
I feel like Zay Croft is a guy that they would be pretty high on. We'll wait and see. But they have worked out Ryan Dunn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Less offense, but how much better is his defense over a Crawford?
His defense is good. His defense is good. His offense is bad. Like the seesaw is there, right? But he has something where I feel like Isaiah Crawford is going to be defending not necessarily at the rim, but he's going to be a great on the ball defender, off the ball defender. Whereas Ryan Dunn has potential to block shots, and like that's a bonus. So he's got the potential to defend on the perimeter and also be a shot blocker at the wing position if he can shoot. Now he's not a great shooter, and that's like an understatement. So it's gonna take some creativity to maybe hide him, unless until the shot improves. But he's a very very good defender, and I know there were a lot of people high on him as a first round pick, but the offense just never came around. And it's just really, really tough in the modern NBA to have somebody where we have to hide you on them. So it's like if you imagine uh, when Trey Young was there, right? And they played the Hawks. And who was Trey Young guard in that series? He didn't have to work. And that's what kills you because now their best player doesn't have to work and he's rested and it's tough. So that's my biggest issue with I don't think I called him Ryan Clark earlier, my fault, but Ryan Dunn. I think he's great defensively, but offensively is going to be a challenge. He reminds me of Andre Robertson back when he was with Oklahoma City. How I think during that time frame, I want to say that was like Harden's just toughest matchup. He was long, and he could, excuse me, he could stay in front of Harden, but also he could challenge Harden's shots when Harden did get by him. But at the same time, Harden was guarding him. Harden didn't break a sweat, and eventually you just couldn't play him late minutes down the stretch because he just wasn't a threat offensively. Then unfortunately, he hurt his knee and hasn't been able to recover since then. But that's the kind of player I project Ryan Dunn to be.
Yeah, and the Knicks have obviously worked him out, so they've had a good close-up look now, and
Mm-hmm.
Tibbs has been around a minute. He'll know whether or not the defense is that good where you can justify,
Mm-hmm.
having a guy on this roster. But I agree, James. The Knicks will select a wing. They have to. They need a guy at least to come in. There's too many question marks over Bogey's future and Alec Burks and just
Mm-hmm.
needing. The Knicks had Josh Hart guarding Siakam late with an abdominal strain, and size just caught up to the Knicks.
Yeah.
OG won't play 82 games. The Knicks fans are bracing themselves for him getting the bag, but
Mm-hmm.
for him also not being available all the time, and so Orion Dunn, yeah, it's going to be fascinating. We have a super chat come in from Buzzer Beater. Appreciate you, Buzzer. Buzzer asks, are we going to trade our two firsts for a higher pick? Now, I think there's a chance the Knicks could because there's 24 and there's 25, James, and the Knicks are very
Mm-hmm.
close to. Well, they will pass the first tax apron, I feel, so they will want to limit that guaranteed salary. And what
Mm-hmm.
better way than to combine both of those picks to either move up or down? Now,
Mm-hmm.
if the Knicks were moving up, how high do you think the Knicks could get with 24 and 25 realistically?
That's a really good question. 24 and 25, and then with the apron, I think you look at a situation like Toronto at 19, uh, maybe even Cleveland.
There's talk Phoenix, but they're only 21, I think. So
Yeah, and
it's
it's
not that
like,
high.
and also I don't know what their money said. They have a lot of money tied up too, but at the same time, new ownership is going to spend money regardless, and they do. That's actually interesting because Phoenix is in a weird spot where Durant would be like 36, I want to say 35, 36. Booker's still young. Bradley Beal, he's 30. So it's like they need some young guys too because they are a Kevin Durant trade request away from being a bad team. And a big Durant fan, but that could actually happen. So, but yeah, it's that's actually interesting, Phoenix. But I really think Toronto would do it. I think Toronto is definitely in the asset acquiring stage right now, and unfortunately, I think that pick that they lost in that Jakob Pertl trade is why they don't have a lottery pick this year. So that one definitely makes sense. Anywhere else, I am not sure because a lot of these other teams are still trying to like add guys who can play right now. I don't necessarily think they could crack the lottery, but maybe this whole Pat Riley, I don't know, maybe they don't do business, but maybe this Pat Riley, Jimmy Butler thing, maybe there's more gas to that. But we'll see.
Yeah, thanks for your response to that because it's really unknown, in terms of I always follow up a question with a question like who are you trading up for? Because
Exactly.
yes, the Knicks can trade up, any team can, but there has to be somebody that you want to trade up for and take. Now, Jaylon Tyson is a name that's pretty popular at the moment. You've got him going possibly at 12, that
I don't,
high, right?
man.
That
Look, I don't see how. Maybe it's just me. I can't see him getting that far back to the 20s. Now, if he does, or if you're in a position to trade up and draft him, absolutely do it. I think Jaylon Tyson is a big time player. I think he gives you a good combination of seasoned yet still not like old draft talk old. Um, but I think he's a lottery pick. I feel like at 6'7", he can do a lot of things. I think he can handle. I think he can create for himself. I think he can shoot. I think he's a good enough playmaker. And if somehow the Knicks, if he falls in a range where you can trade up, you absolutely do it because like he's gonna check boxes. And from everything that I've heard about him, he's very, very professional, right? So it wouldn't he wouldn't get caught up with a Nick. I made it. Like they say, he's about his business. I just have him 12th. I don't think that there are too many wings in this draft, especially with this kind of being the draft where we don't know how good somebody's going to be. I know that he can play, and in the worst case scenario, if the shot creation doesn't translate, I know he can knock down catch and shoot shots. He was at 40% from three his second year at Texas Tech. I'm just really, really high on him, and I will gladly stand on that island if I need to, but I really believe in his talent.
Oh, most def, me too, as well. And I'll be a little surprised if he goes that early. But hey, there's still a lot of time, and you're hearing a lot more about, how the perception is. And you mentioned professionalism. His agent is former Nick as well, Al Harrington. Al
Interesting.
Al Buckets is his agent. So, um, yeah, Jaylon Tyson. I'll be really happy if the Knicks could get him at 24. And to Buzz's question, that could be a name worthy of trading up for as well. Now, another prospect you mentioned the big category. The Knicks have connections to Indiana
hmm
with Coach Mike Woodson.
hmm
Kel'el Ware. Like, how far could you see him slipping?
He's been very polarizing from what I've been hearing, and really just in my evaluation. Sometimes I feel like he might be the most talented center in this draft, and then there's other nights you'd be like, man, that dude didn't do anything. So and then not anything. He didn't dominate like you think his talent should. I don't necessarily think the Knicks would take that gamble with somebody who has a questionable motor, right? Because we have Isaiah Hartenstein. We're not going to. There is upside in Kel'el Ware, but like to me, everything the Knicks are about right now is hard work, unquestionable motor. And I just don't think that he is a Knicks guy. Now he has the talent to be very, very good, but like you have on your screen, Christian Wood. Some nights Christian Wood looks like Anthony Davis Jr., and some nights you're like, man, I see why he's played for as many teams that he's played for. So I personally don't think that he goes. I think they would almost, even though he's raw, I think the Knicks would probably swing on Yves Missi out of Baylor before Kel'el Ware because I feel like Missi he plays hard every night. He's just extremely raw, and it's like you drafted Jericho, who was an athlete, but Missi just has more talent than Jericho Sims.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Misi, and I'm gonna do a bit more of a talk about him in a future episode as well. But yeah, I could see everything you're saying about Kel'el Ware, and that's why I sort of look at the Christian Wood comparison, tantalizing skill set, but can he put it all together as well? And I don't want to float too many other comps, but there has been so many bigs like Willie Cauley Stein that come out
Mm-hmm.
and look, had GM salivating over his, stretch abilities and all of that. Then there was some questions over his motor and other things as well. And look, I've seen Alexar up close and I've interviewed him as well. He
Mm-hmm.
seems like a real competitor. I think he will be successful in the league. Um, but yeah, in terms of more two-way guys, right? Devin Carter looks like he's another name
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna
that's
make it though.
yeah, yeah,
It's a pipe
definitely.
dream.
Yeah. What do you think of the Keyshawn George and Justin Edwards? Some other wings that could provide some offense.
All right,
They're
so
gonna.
here's my thing. I really like Keyshawn George. He is 6'8". He has a lot of talent. He's not an athlete, if that makes sense. It makes it he reminds me in a sense of Kyle Anderson, obviously with a better looking jump shot, but like he's slow, toolsy forward. He may not be the defender that Kyle Anderson is, but like he's put out some good tape as far as just being able to like handle the ball, shoot the ball. He was in a kind of he was in a smaller role. They had some guys in Miami, a couple of them where did have some draft buzz. Uh, do I see him being a Nick? Maybe if he falls that far, I think he's my board. I have him going a little higher. But it's interesting you brought up Justin Edwards. I have grown to appreciate Justin Edwards. I wasn't as high on him early on. I know a lot of people had him as a top 5, top 3 pick, and I definitely didn't see it. But as a guy that can knock down shots and compete, he's a possibility there. And also with some of these other guys, I had him in the second round before, but with guys going back to school, I think he legit has a chance. Now, is there a beef between, because he's represented by Clutch and the Knicks are CAA? Is there, do they mess
Well,
with Clutch guys? I don't know.
that's been buried now.
Okay,
Yeah, it's been buried, and yeah, Rich Paul met with Leon Rose, and they
Mhm.
squashed the beef. So
Okay.
it's open business.
So then it's a possibility. And I think that wouldn't be a bad, if you feel like Isaiah Crawford is too rich for your blood in the first round, and you think you can get him at 38, then maybe you take Justin Edwards. I like Justin Edwards in New York. He's going to compete. He just has to continue to show consistency as far as making open jump shots. And I think that the role that he played at Kentucky, he was able to figure out, okay, this is how it's going to be for me. I'm not the shot creator that people thought I was going to be, but if I can cut and play off guys, rebound at a pretty decent level, I think he has some talent. So I actually like him in New York.
Yeah, no doubt. Some shot making wings, and yeah, look, he finished the season real hot. Justin
Smoking hot.
Edwards, smoking hot, like you said. And sometimes, yeah, as a freshman, it just takes a little bit of time. I used this analogy before, but Emmanuel quickly for Kentucky, his freshman season was very underwhelming. Came back, impressed in his second season, and then yeah, he went. He was in comparison to Tyrese Maxey, got taken with that
Hmm.
one. Yeah, in terms of any sleepers, right? But before we do that, Tyler Kolek, James, there's been mixed reception from Knicks fans over a Tyler Kolek. I could see the Knicks needing some playmaking, and look, he looks like a Tibbs kind of guy. But I
Hmm.
feel like the size limitations, like how do you see him fitting, and maybe playing alongside Deuce, who could play the two a little bit. Do you feel like his defense is up to it?
See, I don't. I'm not as high on Kolek. I just think he's an older guy who's really good in college, but I don't know how it's going to translate in the at the next level. But ultimately, if Julius comes back, well, when Julius comes back and you decide to keep Julius, do you feel like he's going to run like those second units and let him be more of the playmaking wing that he shows that he can be, or do you think that Tibbs would give playmaking duties to a rookie point guard? That's my thinking with like Kolek in New York. Like I feel like the first is everything's gonna run through Julius with the second unit, and it's gonna be the Jalen Brunson show, and guys play off of him as far as like how it works. Just like at the 6 minute mark, we'll say, all right, Julius, you got the second unit, you carry another starter, maybe OG, because I think OG has shown that he will be able to create his own shot. So I don't know if Kolek is going to fit there. And Deuce played well, especially down the stretch.
He did, yeah. And I think, Rokas Jokubaitis, who's a Lithuanian stash from Europe,
Hmm.
looks like he might be coming across. We'll see. Um, but yeah, a couple of close friends of mine have hit me up, and their guys are Ajay Mitchell, Jonathan Mogbo,
Mm.
and Ulrich Chomche. What are you
Mm.
what are your thoughts on some of those guys, especially with Mogbo and Chomche? Big guys that can handle a bit.
I think Chomche is a couple years away from contributing. He's still pretty raw. Mogbo, Mogbo is really interesting, man. Like he just can't shoot, and he's undersized. But like I thought he was a good passer. I thought he was a very good athlete. He has like some small forward skills, but he has to play the five because he can't shoot at all. And it's like it's funny. It's like he's not Precious Achua, but like how Precious will show you something and then he can't shoot, right? So it's like I don't necessarily like Mogba there. I do like AJ Mitchell though. I do like AJ Mitchell a lot, and I think that's another one that would fit. Um, what you're trying to do because he can do both. He can play combo. He can handle and he can play off the ball. And if that's what you want to go with, as far as instead of just having like a point guard, like I think he actually would work there too. I really like AJ Mitchell. I've had him in my first round probably since the first time that I got into his film.
Yeah, nice. And yeah, people are looking at Andrew Nemhard having success, and yeah, a guy like you said, this draft, like you said, it's weaker at the top, but you can get some quality rotation pieces after 2025, and
Hmm.
with all these picks the Knicks have, like I really hope we fill out our depth. Alec Burks is getting older, and OG, and his situation, and yeah, and then obviously Bogdanovic
Yeah.
as well. Now, is there any prospects that you've starting to really think are a real sleeper, and some of your favorites that you think might fit pretty well with this team that we haven't discussed?
That we haven't discussed. Let me go through here. Hey, look, there's a young fellow. I know the Knicks need guys who are going to play right now and who are going to play, who are available sooner than later. And I think he will be able to play. Deuce didn't play a lot his rookie year, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So, Pacome Dadier from France. He's an 18-year-old. I think he measured at 6'9", which is legit. He is very, very good, and he is a very good off the catch, and he does show some ability to put the ball on the ground. Earlier this year, he wasn't handling the ball, but he's starting to. He had the ability, but it's just a matter of comfortability for him. But he's starting to handle the ball. I think he would be somebody that you could take a long look at. Another Frenchman, Alexis, excuse me, not Alexis, that's his uncle, Melvin Aginsa. He's a lefty. He's a shooter. He reminds me of Rodney Hood in a sense where not a lot of dribbles, but a couple of dribbles he can get to his spot and he can shoot. I think he shot the ball very well in France. Um, we talked about Ryan Dunn. I think Baylor Shireman out of Creighton would be interesting. Uh, Left-handed, look. You guys love your rebounding wings, and he definitely rebounds. Maybe some people are concerned about the defense, but he is like a Joe Ingles type to me. Lefty, can pass, can shoot. He's going to rebound. Then there's Bobby Clintman. I'm not too high on Bobby Clintman. I know you're in Australia. You probably had first hand to see Bobby Clintman, but maybe I mean, some people like him in the first round. Me, not so much. But if I was looking at wings, those would be the guys. If Tristan De Silva falls that far, we'll see. I think people like him a little earlier than 25, or maybe that's somebody that you're interested in trading up for to have because he is ready to play today and he can shoot. But yeah, as far as just like sleepers, I guess the ones that I would look at, uh, if not at 24, 25, but definitely at 38, if he's there. But Pacome can play. Pacome Dadier can play, and I do like Baylor Shireman. And maybe you take another former Villanova guy. I think it was Jalen Bridges, who was just at Baylor. So there are, like I
Yep.
said, if you're trying to build a team and think that you're getting yourself ready for the future with a future All Star, hey, good luck finding that. But if you need roster guys who are pieces, who you're gonna say 4 years down the line, like man, I'm glad we got him. Those guys are available in this draft.
Yeah, and you said it. There's some raw guys, Pacome, Dadier, and I like Shireman as well. Yeah, and some friends of the show have hit us up about Jalen Bridges. So I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
you did mention him. Tyler Smith, I know you've got him
I
pretty
don't think he's
high.
gonna. Man,
Like,
I don't think he's gonna fall that far. I think people are overthinking it with Tyler Smith. But if he does, I mean, hey, that's 6'10", left-handed. He can shoot. He's athletic, and he is like the prototypical power forward in today's NBA. So, hey, if he falls that far, I wouldn't hesitate to do it. But I just don't think he should because he shot like 36% from NBA three at 19. Right? He has a defined role. He's athletic, and he can put the ball on the ground enough where if you chase him off the line, and like he can pop and he can be a rim running big too. And like I don't think that there's anybody in this draft that has that combination and has the same level of athleticism that he has. But that's just me.
yeah, look, it's all going to be about workouts as well. But like you said, I think the Knicks can put on a clinic in the second round and for anyone that's thinking like wanting to know what are the Knicks going to do, here's what I think: the Knicks don't make up their mind they don't predetermine what they're going to do. They wait to see how the board plays out. And every team, James, has their guys that they like, right? And if they're still on the board, let's say pick 43, the Knicks are all out of second rounders, but there's a guy that's like slipped. They'll call some teams up and they'll say, "Hey, can we buy a pick off you?" And
Hmm.
that's what the Knicks will do. I think they might punt on one of the first round, maybe even both, and then I think they'll find some gems in the second round again and put on a clinic. Because like I said, the salary situation is really tough. The roster spots are quite scarce right now.
Hmm.
Although I do think the Knicks didn't make good use of the real back end of the roster. I'm talking about your Daquan Jeffries, your Dwayne Washingtons, your Mamadi Diakites, and I know every roster, James, has guys that just are good practice players, but
Yeah.
the Knicks were trying to go for that championship this season. I felt like they could have filled out some veterans a bit better, but Bobby Clintman, I've interviewed him and really really strong mentally, really
Hmm.
good character guy. I could see
Hmm.
his game, working out as a role player and sort of a combo forward, but the playmaking has to really pop. The
Yeah,
defense is good.
I agree. I saw somebody asked about DaRon Holmes and Bud Carrington. Uh, if DaRon Holmes is there, I think you absolutely take a look at him. I know that the rumors are saying the Nuggets have basically said, "Hey, man, we got you," but I like DaRon Holmes a lot, and I think that if you were to lose. Actually, yeah, I think if you were to lose Hardenstein, I think he would be good for the Knicks, just in case, as a backup item. I think he can play. I think he can shoot enough. He's a little on the thin side, but I definitely like DaRon Holmes. I don't think Bubby Carrington's going to be there at 24 or 25, sir. I'm sorry. I think his stock is going up. If he is there, it looks good, but yeah, I don't think he's going to be there. I think he's probably I've always noted that he's probably the second best passer in this draft to me, behind Nikola Topic. I think some of the plays that Carrington was making at 18 were just advanced. I know he had some struggle shooting the ball, but like in pick and roll, he's really, really, matter of fact, he is kind of like quickly in the sense where uh, he is quickly shared playmaking duties at Kentucky, right? And then he's like, man, he's actually a really good pro point guard. I think that's going to be very similar for Bub, but I don't think he's going to last that long though.
Yeah, me too, man. I got a friend in Pittsburgh actually, and yeah, he's been talking to me, and in terms of what you said about Precious Achua, I'm not too high on Precious Achua. Like he can really look amazing in spots, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, but then he can just be like, man, we just needed you to be solid against Siakam. Like, and when that's the thing, when you really need to depend on a player, it's like, are you going to be able to produce, and now he needs guaranteed money. I would try to go younger, and the same thing with Jericho Sims, which I think
Mm-hmm.
why you hit with DaRon Holmes, that DaRon Holmes would be excellent. Dayton, the Knicks obviously selected Obi.
Yeah.
They got those that familiarity as well. But yeah, the connections. I won't be surprised if Kentucky, Justin Edwards, is a
And
guy the
he's
Knicks
from
have.
Philly, I believe, which is not too far away. So it's almost like halfway local. So
Yeah,
yeah.
most definitely, man. And yeah, well, I really appreciate your time, James. We
Oh,
could
for
talk
sure.
about prospects forever, and we'll love to get you on maybe a little bit closer if you got time
Yeah,
towards
just
the draft.
let me know, man. I love talking basketball.
Yep, no doubt. Yeah, and the chat's buzzing as well. And a salute to Replay Squad. We'll continue our draft coverage. Is there anything that you just wanted to address and talk about with this draft before we wrap up?
Hey, like we mentioned before, if you feel like you can move up to get a guy that you really like, because you really like him, and maybe somebody else doesn't like him as much, because again, 15 through 45 is just going to come down to preference for the most part. But hey, I like what the Knicks are doing. hopefully they find their guy, and they are in a good spot to find good guys because they have picks late, and it's not. I know Knicks fans have the tendency sometimes to boo the draft pick, but like at 24 and 25, I think you're going to get good players, right? And it may be a reach to some, but like I think that there is roster filling talent, rotation guys in 2 to 3 years available in a draft where you guys are drafting at. So hey man, best of luck. Like I said, it's always fun when Madison Square Garden is loud. So let's keep it up.
No doubt. Yeah, get more Tibbs guys, and look, Jaylon Tyson is my pipe dream. Hopefully he slips a little bit, and your mock draft is a little off. That is a
I'll
mock
be glad
though,
to be
not a
wrong.
big board.
Yeah, I'll be glad to be wrong, but I just feel like he has a lot of talent, man. And if you can trade up to get him, hey, go for it. Because I think he's ready to contribute right away. Gonna love him out there, but I just don't think he's gonna be available. He wouldn't be available if I was in charge. How about that?
Yeah, and look, credit to the Knicks recently. You know, they've had some misses, but in terms of the back end, they've hit with Deuce McBride, Quentin Grimes,
Yes.
quickly. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they made something out of those fringe first round picks that a lot of teams just take a whiff and they don't get anything out of it. And the Knicks got
Mm-hmm.
some trade value out of that as well. But I really admired Indiana in terms of getting a lot of, Isaiah Jackson who helped, Nemhard, Neesmith. And as much as I hate Indiana to the core as a Knicks fan, like, it helped them in the playoffs. That
Mm-hmm.
depth is something that the Knicks need to address.
Yeah. And though that they didn't draft him, Aaron, yeah, you said Neesmith, that was a late first. Like those guys, they help you win. And sometimes it's just not always about like upside, upside, upside. Like you need somebody who maybe not he may not be an all-star, but in 2 years he's gonna give us valuable minutes to help your superstars. So yeah.
Yeah, as Dirty Dancer says in the chat, 3 bites at the apple, just hit one.
That's
Well,
true.
look, Walt Perrin, the Knicks got a lot of scouts as well, full-time European scout as well. So they do pour a lot of resources into it. But this concludes this episode. Great to talk to James Barlowe of NBA Big Board. If you're not already tuned in and subscribed to their channel, do so. They're dropping shows daily, and also going through the latest rises, falls, mock drafts as well. James Barlow, along with Raphael, Leaf, and the rest of the team, doing amazing work as well. Give those guys a follow. James, pleasure to have you on, and let's talk again.
Yeah, hit me up.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.